my question is, when did it come into the agreement? And what attorney looked over it? And what county commission board approved it? That's what I'd like to know, the time, the when, the where, and the year, because the other night at the meeting, we heard that they were already hauling coal ash in here at one particular point in time. So, well, I'd like to know when that was, how much of it they hauled in here, and it obviously is not a good thing, or they wouldn't have stopped hauling it in here. But my main thing is, I'd like to know when it came into the agreement, and who on the county commission board read over and approved it. I think everybody in this community deserves to know that.
Well, part of that appeared in the newspaper. I don't know if it was enough to satisfy your question. But I should have known from the beginning where it came from, except what I read in the newspaper. Is there anybody here who can answer this question for you?
Our attorney could probably answer that.
I didn't know nothing about it either, nobody else did.
Okay,
Till it was already reported up.
Hey, you know, the coal ash itself, the substance is not listed anywhere in the contracts, okay? So nobody ever come in here and swooped into Wayne County and said, we're gonna, you know, make a deal to strike with Wayne County or the Solid Waste Authority and put coal ash in the contract. The way the contracts read is a lot of reliance was put on the EPA and EPD to allow non-hazardous substances into the waste. That's what we have here. EPA has classified coal ash as a non-hazardous substance. That was what reliance was used on in the contracts, was that non-hazardous substance could be placed in the landfill. There's kind of where we're at as far as, you know, how they obtained the ability to put coal ash in. Again, you know, in 10 years down the road, it may be another substance. Today it's coal ash. The EPA says it's non-hazardous. You know, by the terms of the agreement, they're allowed to bring it in there without even telling us or really saying anything. So that's kind of, and that agreement, you know, I think it was in the prior agreement, that same standard was used back in '92. It was the same standard. I know it was the standard that was used in the 05 agreements. So that's kind of how, you know, it came about that coal ash was a substance that was allowed to be put to the landfill.
But they said earlier that the only thing that was allowed in that contract was solid waste.
You mind?
Go ahead, it is.
But under EPD's classifications, coal ash is listed as non-hazardous waste, and my understanding, that falls under the same category as a beer can. I'm not telling you I like it, I'm explaining what the law says. Anything they determine is non-hazardous waste can be brought into that landfill under the contract. So after the 05 agreement, there didn't have to be anything. EPD said it was okay, so after that, there was no need for another agreement. I'm just telling you what they classified. I'm not picking sides right now.
Oh, I understand.
I'm just telling you.
But
they
for many years prior
it's
to
on the
that, it was
same
considered
thing as a beer
hazardous
can or
material.
anything else.
Right, and then the EPA changed that classification to become a non-hazardous material. So once that kind of snapped,
So they just took it, that they could just, without any talking to the community, any consideration to the community, Republicans are just deciding, you go ahead and
EPD and EPA has that right as a government.
And the only way you can stop that, you would have to join the EPA yourself and get on board with them, then you might be, you have a little bit more power, then we ain't got none of them.
No, I understand that. I still think, and I'm not trying to start anything by no means, but I still think that we have a chance if we power up in numbers, like we did the other night. Numbers is the only thing that's going to stop them, or at least put a halt to it so they know how serious we are in this county about stopping it.
Didn't you say,
Just a minute, let me get it.
Commissioner Wright, didn't you say earlier the EPA has changed all that?
Yes, I
It is
read you what the
hazardous, it's
EPA said.
radioactive,
Yes, I read you what they said.
so doesn't that kind of make that contract invalid?
You better talk to a legal mind. Got a good one, but it's not
Well, I mean,
legal.
things change because studies change.
Okay,
And realities change from what someone says to what someone else says who's actually done studies. And when you get the facts,
Can I address a partial, perhaps, answer to that? From my understanding of what Mr. Ross read to us, these are safeguards in light of the dangers posed. Okay, they're not preventions in any means. They're simply precautionary measures that are to be taken.
but doesn't that put a definitive answer on whether coal ash is hazardous or not hazardous?
You'd think, perhaps, but that doesn't force them to reclassify it as hazardous.
Well, but isn't that what he said? They did reclassify it? Isn't that what he read?
No.
Let me read a little bit further right here. It says, implementation of these technical requirements will be reported through comprehensive and regular disclosure to states and communities to enable them to monitor and oversee these requirements. The rule requires that power plant owners and operators provide detailed information to citizens and states to fully understand how their communities may be impacted. The rule sets out new transparency requirements, including record keeping and reporting requirements, as well as the requirement for each facility to post specific information to a publicly accessible website. This will provide the public with information such as annual groundwater monitoring results and corrective action reports, coal ash fugitive dust control plan, and closure completion notifications.
And that's a good time for me to request your audience for just a minute, because as a member of the committee, there's not much else that I see as my place of duty than to give advice. And what I would say in this regard is that the EPA is making the suggestion that local communities take a more active role in the oversight of such facilities.
That's right.
This is exactly what I am proposing that we do. And I think that reliance on EPA, on their rulings as to what's hazardous and so forth in the long run, we have some limitations there on classifications of materials and so forth. But here's the thing, we are called an authority. Are we a regulatory authority?
No.
No, in no means. By the same token, we have a host agreement, which I just want to go on record, I take some umbrage, if I can use that word, I take some umbrage to the way that contract has evolved, and I wish that it were different. I wish that perhaps that would change in the future. But regardless of whether or not it does or does not, I think that as a hazardous waste, solid waste authority, I'd like to see us not have this happen again in a more general sense. I just heard Attorney Beaver say, what next? In terms of it could be another substance. Is there something else down the future? He kind of indicated, look, if it falls under solid waste, it might fall under our purview, and it might not have anything to do. We're not the Republic Waste Authority. We're not here just for their sake, and the commissioners aren't just concerned with that. We have a whole county to be concerned about. And in that regard, I would highly recommend a more comprehensive look at waste management in the future, perhaps including, I'm one who believes that that ordinances such as zoning ordinances can be used to handle this sort of thing. So I truly think that, obviously, and this has nothing to do specifically, I want to be clear, I'm not specifically addressing anything with our contract, our host contract with Republic, but I'm saying to my fellow board members here on this, authority members, perhaps we should consider recommendations to the commissioners that we avoid this thing in the future with a more comprehensive plan for waste management, including monitoring and doing what the EPA says. That perhaps there's a way to set that up so that we who aren't professionals in that regard can get the help we need to keep an independent eye on industries and residents and other potential hazards in our community.
I'm gonna ask this question, I want to ask the Republicans, they might say, well, I can't answer that, and I won't answer that, that's their privilege, I just want to ask this, okay? I heard this now, I heard it, don't say I've done it, I heard this, okay? Anyway, we was up in, Tipton Friday. This man, me, Kevin, and Luther Smart, which is our county administrator. This young county commissioner from Banks County. I got his phone number, I got everything, his phone number and all that. Matter of fact, me and this man here are gonna go up there Tuesday. They getting 189 truckloads of coal ash per day. Now, here's what they told me. Now, the Republic don't own that, Waste Management on that. Y'all know that yourself. But what I'm trying to say is, he told us that Waste Management told him that about 8 to 10 years, there won't be no more coal ash hauling there anymore, because they're gonna be recycling everything. Okay, they get so much a ton going in, so now they want to negotiate, see how much they can get per ton going out to recycling plant. But they said this, coal ash won't be in that landfill, no more than stored in that landfill, no more than 10 years, it'll all be gone, they're gonna use it up. Now, I'm gonna ask y'all, just say if y'all did do that, is that y'all the same plan as Republicans, Waste Man? I don't, like I said, y'all don't have to answer that, I'm just asking, I'm throwing that out what we heard. I don't know that. But what I'm getting at, I want to find out, like I said, they'll tell you, I asked the county commissioner, I said, he's the chairman, I said, let me ask you something, I said, where's the coal ash coming from? He said, North Carolina, they getting 189 loads a day, they said, 189 to 190 loads a day. But what I want to know, I asked him to find out too, and I want y'all to find out. I want to find out how many people died on that river where they getting that coal ash from on that river where that power plant. I just want to see how many people died down that river where they've been using coal ash for years. That's what I want to find out too. I don't know that. Y'all might not be able to find it out either.
Well, let me say this, it was my understanding that whatever got into the river got in there because of dam burst and not because of the landfill. Am I wrong?
Do what now?
It was because a dam had burst to allow it to get to the river and not because it had gone through by, through the
Y'all
asphalt.
are talking about different things.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say is that in case these people don't live up to their agreement, there's about, what, 21 point something million dollars at stake that they would have to pay if this thing doesn't come out the way it's supposed to. I don't know the exact amount, but I thought 21 point something billion dollars.
That's what we have in post-closure, care.
That 21 million or whatever it is a bonding that carry it after they close the landfill
Right.
for 30 years. That's what that's for.
Mr. Roll.
Yes, sir.
You got Mr. Thomas right there.
Yes, sir, Mr. Thomas, go ahead.
Mr. Ross, thank you. Gentlemen, everyone is here. I and myself and Shag, we were on the board in 92 when this contract was signed or whatever. At that time, coal ash wasn't an issue. And I think we can be prudent in the contracts and in the future and everything, but this is a federal issue. Unless we have our representative keeping us informed about what legislation go through to classify these things, then you're not going to do any good. Just like the contract was signed in 05. If you look at a report that was put up by DCA, Department of Community Affairs, in 06, that was the best contract in the state. They classified it. In other words, they classified us with other states. We had the best contract at the time because coal ash wasn't the issue. Who knew that EPA was going to reclassify it or classify it to put it in a certain type of landfill?
That's right.
Right now, you can make some decisions, but who knows in 2020 if EPA or somebody's going to classify something that's already going out there some other kind of way. So this is things that we need to make sure that our representatives keep us informed on, because locally, all we can do is voice our opinions. But I think that the people who were there then made a good decision. As a matter of fact, Gerald DeWitt, who was a city commissioner, you know Gerald DeWitt. He was an environmental man. That was his expertise for Rainier.
For years.
That was his thing. And so you had some people on there that were environmentally conscious. And the contract wasn't drawn up by our attorneys. The contract was drawn up by the lawyers of the bonding company. Because they wanted to protect their interests, however many $1 million they loaned for that at the time. So we were informed on the contract and what it was and everything. So, it's one of those things that you can't point the finger at anybody. Your federal agencies, that's their job to reclassify or whatever. So if you want to get to the root of this thing, we got to get our representative to lobby with our federal agencies to reclassify how we want to do that. That's how we get it done. We're doing our job. They're doing their job. They didn't have to tell us about it because it was the future, trying to make the best decision for Wayne County. So I don't wanna think anything that would jeopardize this county as far as its millage if contracts are broken or whatever. Because you're looking at a substantial amount of money and probably taxes getting raised, so.
I'd like to say too that I have in my hand a solid waste management plan that was put out by the state of Georgia, adopted May 3rd, 2006. And it's a very extensive document, about 100 and some pages. I only have a few of them here. But these were put together by the Department of Community Affairs, Department of Natural Resources, Environmental Protection Division, Pollution Prevention Assistance Division, and Georgia Environmental Facilities Authority. I'm sure you can get a copy of this at the state level. It's a very extensive document, it's all in here. Yes, sir.
On this rail spur, have we heard anything from anyone, whether they were gonna approve it or whether they're not
Come
gonna
out
approve
Corps
it?
engineer, nobody.
Corps of Engineers hadn't
I
notified.
know of.
Will they notify us
I doubt.
before they do anything?
No, I doubt. They don't have to.
There's a public comment period that'll expire on April the 5th, and following that time, the Corps of Engineers will generally take 1 of 4 actions. It'll deny the permit, grant the permit, or request modifications. And those who are interested are entitled to obtain that data at any time from the culprit.
Okay. The main reason for this complaint we got with the rail spur, that would slow up the amount of coal ash going in. You're talking about 100 cars per shot. They won't take less than that. That's what they have to have. That's what the railroad has to have, is that many cars going in at a time, is 100 cars. If this spur is not approved, even though you may not be able to do anything about the coal ash that's in there or the coal ash that's going in, this will cut down on the amount that they'll be taking in per day.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So if we need to stay behind the Corps of Engineers and get some information for them, don't let them sit back. They're not perfect. They'll just let it go right on to the end unless somebody stays on them and tell them we want the information. Very important. This is part, you're not going to be able to, the coal ash is there. There's a gang of it there already. It was brought in by trucks, all right? Now you're talking about rail cars, 100 per lick, bringing it in. And they can tell you how many trucks it would take to fill one of those cars. And you would be astounded at how much you're talking about upping the amount of coal ash coming in to that plant with them rail cars. And they can tell you, if one of them will get up and tell you, they can tell you how many trucks it would take to haul one of those rail cars.
About 2 to 3.
3 trucks.
How many?
3, what?
That's what I said, 1, 2 to 3, and I figured that.
So you're up in the amount that's gonna go in there. You may not be able to stop it, but you can slow it up. We've got to do everything we can do to make sure that the people of Wayne County aren't affected, or slow it down, or do something. And they're all looking at the group to do something or try to do something. And we're not miracle workers. We can't make anybody do anything. All we can do is just keep on top of it and get them to get us the information that we need, and we have to go from there. If we lose, but we gotta try.
That's what we're doing now. Mr. Ross, can I comment on Mr. Thomas, what he said a while ago about the bond? Now, the bond was paid off for the coal ash ever mentioned. I just want people to know that. And Derby, I've been hearing you writing it. I've been hearing, in the paper, somebody said, how come y'all sold out sold that out junk for $10? I said, well, that's the first thing I'm gonna tell y'all. We ain't never owned it. You can't sell nothing you ain't never owned. But they said that somebody been selling it. The county sold that land out junk for $10, like I was telling them a while ago. We ain't never owned that land. The county had never owned that land. The Rogers estate owned that land. I know exactly how much they got out. And Ralph, I went back there and I told Ralph, I said, let's look it up and see who actually owned that land, which I told you who owned it. And I was right. The Rogers estate owned that land. Now, Plum Creek, since they got, buying land, they sold them some, a while back, I think. sold some of the land. But for Wayne County, they never have owned an inch of land down there on where that road or landfill. Never have owned it.
Commissioner, the Solid Waste Authority owns 901.8 acres.
Thank you.
And they sold that to the public on January 24th of 2002. It's a deed book 423, page 176. That particular 901.8 parcel was split into two parcels, parcel 90-9, which is 448 acres, and parcel 90-9-1, which is 448 acres. But you're right, the county never owned it.
That's what I'm getting at.
But-
That's
but
what I
the
want to
Wayne
be
County
clear.
Solid
The
Waste-
county ain't never owned it.
The Wayne County Solid Waste Management Authority owned it and sold it to Republic for the aforementioned $10, and it was 900.1 acres. And then those other assemblage parcels that you referred to, flowers, et cetera, surround that 901.
Well,
It was done as a lease pond, wasn't it?
Sir?
It was done as a lease pond, wasn't it?
It was part of a lease, and it was an option to purchase in the lease, and they accelerated the lease term. In other words, they terminated it early and bought it, so.
that's what I'm saying.
The gentleman in the back with his hand up.
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey, and I would say there are more Superfund sites in New Jersey than any other state in the country. And I've seen more communities completely shut off from the rest of the area because of the pollution. They put up chain link fences and big gates and warning signs and all this stuff, and everybody's moved out. Typically, from what I've seen from friends and homeowners, they typically lose. And then the state or the federal government is the one who ends up having to try and clean this stuff up. Because just in this situation, you got $20 million on a contract that's good for 20 years. What's $20 million going to be in 20 years?
Okay.
Nothing. So if this needs to be cleaned up in 20 years, that $20 million isn't going to be.
Well, I can say this. This meeting was planned for one reason, but we've gone far beyond what we thought we would do here. And, with that being said, I'm ready to adjourn it.
Can I ask one more question quickly? Can I ask one more quickly, please? Who ultimately is the ones that are going to make the decision as to whether this thing is all passed and a contract is signed? Is it the commission? Is it the state? Is it the Corps of Engineers? Who ultimately makes that decision and says, approved?
I suppose the commissioners will. Our county commissioners.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is the county got any, the solid waste got any plans about monitoring any wells surrounding the land site out there? The personal wells?
That's right, excuse me, I just want to respond to that. That is right down the straight out of what I was recommending. Okay, I don't know if I was clear. I know we're not a regulatory authority, but here's the thing. I've been involved in many environmental processes with the Corps of Engineers in my formal profession, and I've never seen a situation in which stakeholders were brought together and one stakeholder had only public opinion to say. Now, I know Mr. Ross wants to bring this meeting to an end, but I want to say, I recommend that, okay?
Mr. Rollins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I get my attorney to clarify one thing real quick?
I think you had a question about the final contract being in place. Again, there won't be a contract signed to bring by the county or by anybody to bring coal ash into.
That's already in existence.
That's already in existence. That was something that was done a long time ago. What you got now is the final approval process will run through the EPD and the Army Corps of Engineers, and that's what you hear the city talking about when they talk about they've hired engineers and hydrologists and geologists and whatnot to do scientific studies. That's kind of what goes into the permitting process. That's what the county also put $5,000 towards to get some scientific facts of our own to see if it's comparable to what the statistics are in the Army Corps and the EPD's permitting process. So that's kind of where your final approval process comes in.
So we need to trust the EPD and the Corps of Engineers.
Well, you're right, it's a matter of trust. When we look into it,
We're just saying that's who makes the approval.
Yeah,
Well, no, I'm just saying that they're going to make the final say.
It's okay to bring in, and they want to bring it, or someone wants to bring it. You say someone, because you said it's already from,
You know, it was mentioned in the meeting the other night, and I know you want to it was mentioned by, somebody the other night that we all need to be neighborly. And what really hit me is when, he mentioned being neighborly and requested that Republic needed to be neighborly to us too. They depend on us just as much as we depend on them, okay? If they need to be neighborly, they need to be neighborly and sit down and consider renegotiating a contract, one that will be agreeable. Because the only way that we can stop this now or even damper is like the gentleman up here said, we ain't gonna worry about Republic, because they're gonna do what Republic wants to do, that's quite clear. But the only thing we can do is team together and keep on the Army Corps of Engineers on this, rail trade, and just get it to stop or cease or slow down or something until we can find another way to do it.
Right.
Because Republic's gonna do what Republic wants to do, that's quite obvious.
Well, I want to say this, I'm going to recognize this gentleman. It is a matter of trust. When we took the tour last week, they showed us the money bills that they have put down for this purpose. I don't know if that's going to suit our purposes or not, but they have.
What about the wells in the community outside of there? Who's gonna monitor the wells in the neighborhoods that are beside it? It may not monitor in theirs, but it monitors in this gentleman's water well 3-4 miles down the road. That's gonna be the county.
Yes, sir.
My name is Eddie Powell. I lived in this county 47 years. And I'm really heartbroken what's going on in this community. I realize Republic is a business, but I have children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren live in this county. I hunt and fish in this county. And I think it's deplorable what's happening here in this county. And I can't understand why they can't humble themselves and renegotiate a contract. Me, myself, I'm not for no rail spur. I'm not for coal ash coming in our county. I think it's disgusting. What value do they put on our families' lives in this county? I'm not just talking about Jessup. I'm talking about Scriven, Waycross, Mount Pleasant, Gardi, Odom. Not counting the stuff that's going to be carried out into the ocean and kill all the fish and everything out there. You're not going to be able to eat or drink anything. Period. It's not if it's going to leak, it's when it's going to leak. And $21.5 million ain't a drop in the bucket. And I think they need to negotiate a new contract. And I know that's up to you gentlemen and everything, but something needs to be done. It's just heart-wrenching. Seeing what happened in our community, what we're having to go through. It's disgusting.
I can certainly go along with that. And it wasn't my intention to think that money could be more important than human rights. I simply mentioned that because it's true that they do have it up here. Yes, I said I was going to mention.
If you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
We've had 3 set of attorneys look at this contract. Ours, the ACCG, and we heard a third one. And all 3 attorneys agreed, our contract with the county commissioners is with this board. And this board is with Republic. And we've been advised by all 3 set of attorneys that our contract with y'all is binding. So the question we got asked a minute ago, it come back to us. Kevin tried to clarify that. It's not in the commission's hands at all.
Okay.
Not according to 3 set of attorneys.
Thank you.
I have a question based on that. Are you saying that the Solid Waste Authority is the holder of that contract?
Yes. According to what our attorneys told us, we have an intergovernmental agreement with y'all for 50 years. And we can't break that.
With your appointed waste authority?
Yes.
Is this the same waste authority that held that land?
Yes. Your contract y'all got right there is, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, the contract is between the county commission of 05 and with the waste authority in this intergovernmental agreement for 50 years.
Would it be within our right as this board to request, and I'm not saying we're
I'm
doing
not an
that,
attorney, you can ask me that.
Mr. Beaver, would it be reasonable or within our rights to request a renegotiation of the contract?
I'd have to look into it, but I didn't come here prepared to advise.
Well, that's something I'd like to
And I
know about.
apologize, I'm not trying to be
If,
smart.
if.
Andy, did I
Mr.
interpret that
Cox is
correctly?
right.
Yeah, I will, the restated second, amended second host agreement is one between the Wayne County Board of Commissioners and the Solid Waste Authority. And then you also have the one between the Solid Waste Authority and the public.
I know that, speaking for what I've just heard here, we'd all like to know a little bit more about that situation.
And I'll be glad to look into it for you.
Yes, ma'am. And this is it.
Okay. Well, first of all, I mean, there's a lot of misinformation going on when people say their hands are bound or the commission has no place. That is wrong. There are Georgia laws that protect us as a community. And we enforce those laws to the best of our ability. We want the commission on board. We want the Solid Waste Management Authority on board. But there are Georgia laws that protect us as a community. And I don't want anybody else to think that we aren't protected by law, because we are.
Who's the enforcing authority of those laws?
Well, we're gonna have to see about that. That'll come into light. The court, we take it to court, a judge will throw it out. There's no way that a commission can be bound for 50 years. If you'll go on Protectors of Wayne County, you'll see a list of what that illegal thing on there. But also the Banks County chairman that you were talking about, Jimmy Hooper, that's who you were talking to?
No.
Okay, well, anyway, he was the Banks County chairman at the time. They also reported there was nothing they could do. And there's been a recall effort for 3 of those chairmen now on the county commission. So, the people there aren't happy with it. If you go up there and, you know.
We're going Tuesday, I'll let you know when I get back.
Well, I'm just telling you, Banks County's had a lot of problems, but they're not sitting on wetlands. They're up in the North Georgia mountains on top of bedrock and all that. You can't compare apples to oranges like that.
That's right, you can't either till you go there and look. I can't either, that's when I'm going to.
Well,